You took a life. You took my son. You took my son. You took my baby. You took my baby.
Nighttime, your car alarm goes off. You wake up your roommate, you arm yourself with a butcher knife. Your roommate has a pole, you go outside. You look in your car, there's a guy in there. You exchange words. The guy that was in your car is no longer in the land of the living. The police come, cuff you up, take you down to the infamous LAPD 77th Street Division, hold you on suspicion of MURDER, set a $2 million bail.
Learning new information tonight about a deadly stabbing on USC's Greek Row. A 19-year-old student has been arrested and accused of killing a man allegedly breaking into cars.
Well, this is what happened the other day to Ivan Gallegos, a 19-year-old USC student. He heard his car alarm go off in the part of the campus where like all the fraternity and sorority houses are. Him and one of the guys went outside armed with a knife and stick. And they exchanged words with this guy, Xavier Cerf, who was, I think, 29. Mr. Cerf had just been released from mental health facility that very day, so he didn't survive 24 hours after being released from mental health care. So apparently, whoever was in charge of letting him out didn't realize he was a danger to himself and others.
Good morning. A sign that reads "Justice for Ivan" now hangs outside of that fraternity house.
So you have a 19-year-old Hispanic college student stabs to death a 27-year-old mentally ill homeless black man. Ivan Gallegos is studying business at USC. He grew up in Boyle Heights, which is East LA. His parents, according to him, are both seriously involved in gang life in East LA, but he's become the first generation in his family to go to college. So should he get sent to prison for murder?
It's 3 y'all against 1. And one had a pole and one had a knife. So I feel like your intentions was to already come out there and do what y'all did.
Yima, who lives in Texas, told NBC4 her son is a father and a brother and moved to L.A. in February from Texas. She says he spent time at a hospital in San Pedro getting mental health help in the days before he was killed. She doesn't believe her son was homeless and says if he was breaking into cars, it still shouldn't have led to his death.
It is 3 of you. Y'all could have held him down, whatever the case may have been. Y'all could have held him down. It's one of him.
So there was a huge political push as soon as this story came out.
Ivan said from the very beginning he was in fear of his life and it was self-defense. We believed him, the family believed him, and thank God Jay Gascon believed him.
Frankly, from what I know about the law, I mean, it varies by state. You better be careful. Like, you hear your car alarm go off, you're really just supposed to look. And if you see some...
2 other students as well confronted Xavier Cerf as he broke into Gallegos' car outside the fraternity. Gallegos had reportedly armed himself with a knife. Another student calling 911 when he saw Cerf in the car. Charging documents state security video showed Cerf breaking in. Prosecutors say Cerf opened the door and told Gallegos he was armed as he reached towards his waist, and Gallegos grabbed his hand thinking he had a gun and stabbed him 4 times. It was later determined Cerf did not have a gun.
The media, picked up this story, and of course there's been all this backlash about what's going on in LA and other big cities and too many criminals and homeless and mentally ill. So this kid, who he was held on $2 million bond, but he was never taken in front of a judge and charged. And within about 48 hours, the district attorney Gascon, the infamously liberal guy, who some people don't like, they tried to recall, the one who'd been pushing no cash bail, even though there was a $2 million bail on this kid Gallegos, he dropped all the charges. So supposedly Xavier Cerf told them he had a gun and touched his waistband, and that's why they hit him with the KNIFE. Sounds pretty neat of an explanation to me, but maybe that's what happened. But he's not getting charged. His life won't be ruined, and I'm fine with that. because it is sad. And here's Xavier Cerf's mother.
You took a life. You took my son. You took my son. You took my baby. You took my baby.
Yeva Jones says she has so many questions about the night her son was killed. Police described 27-year-old Xavier Cerf as a transient who was breaking into a car when 19-year-old Ivan Gallegos, armed with a knife, approached him with two others.
Y'all mean to tell me y'all couldn't call the campus security or hold him down without hurting him? But to stab him not once, but multiple times?
Police say Cerf had locked himself into a car. When Gallegos and two others told him to get out, Cerf said the car was calling to him. When Cerf finally got out of the vehicle, police say he claimed to have a gun and reached for his waist. That's when Gallegos stabbed him.
He was horrible. And y'all found nothing on him. Absolutely nothing but his medication.
Xavier Cerf is not anybody's responsibility, except if anybody, his family's. And if his family didn't go and pick him up when he was released from the mental health care place, and if his family didn't have them in the home with them, and he's out in the mean streets of the big city, well, it's a cold world. I mean, you run across strangers and start woofing and this and that, somebody can end up dead, and Mr. Cerf did.
It's not self-defense when you are unarmed. I'm so sorry. That doesn't give you the right. And even if he was in some cars, I think they took justice in their own hands at the wrong matters where they should have called the police and let them do their job.
And this is, I think, a good segue to talk about the unraveling of society, because this in and of itself isn't that crazy of an incident. I mean, unfortunately, people get killed in the city, and all across America, different things happen. But LA definitely has an abnormal amount of severely mentally ill people floating around. But dealing with, everyone, Republicans try to leverage, and all the Democrats in the cities, it's a very difficult problem dealing with troubled adults in the United States. And as the family structure has weakened, as there's basically, when you get away from people with college degrees, most people now are not living in a mother and father household, and this goes for whites as well. The low end of the white population is now a bunch of out of wedlock children, low income, single mothers, high school dropouts. In the past, when you had stronger family structures, if you had one family member that had a drug problem or mental illness, or they were slow, they couldn't support themselves, well, if there's a mother, a father, a brother and a sister, an aunt and an uncle who are all competent adults, they can all kind of, I'll take them for a week, I'll let them live with me for a month, and then when I get sick of them, we'll send them to you for a month, and, he's got a drug problem, well, here, I'll give him $50 today so he doesn't have to steal, and you give him $50 tomorrow. But if your family simply consists of just your mother, who may be low income, she can't really help you, and she certainly can't help you enough. So just one of the things I learned passing through the county jail system in several big cities, I mean, who the police mainly deal with aren't serious criminals. I mean, though they do, it's all these street people. And I know in rap music has people using this term street people to mean, I guess it means you're a successful drug dealer, a gang member or something, but I always heard it, and I use it now to mean the people out in the street, like the people hanging out at the liquor store, the people roaming the streets at 2 a.m, kicking trash, looking on the ground, seeing somebody drop some crack, prostitutes on the stroll. People got nowhere to go, unwanted because they got problems. And people, especially if you have a small family, doesn't have a lot of resources, are not equipped and are increasingly unwilling to deal with their family members' problems. Again, Feel bad for this guy, Xavier Cerf's mother, but he got let out of mental health care treatment that day. She clearly wasn't there to pick him up, and she didn't have housing for him. So, easy for her to say what these three guys should have done with their son, but where was she at? Not to say I'm sure it's very difficult dealing with a mentally ill adult child, and she probably doesn't have the resources, but that's why the police come out and deal with people screaming, and they don't know what people. The police have to come out and deal with people screaming, having psychotic episodes, having drug overdoses. They have to call EMS. Some cities, the paramedics and the police are jointly trained, so all police are paramedics, because that's mainly what they're dealing with. Detectives solve crimes. Cops on the beat respond to people in mental health care crisis, or homeless people, or drunk people, or people going on an overdose on a street corner. And it is very scary to suddenly run across an adult mentally ill person late at night. And because I'm going to tell you what happened in my apartment a few months before I moved out from downtown LA in my expensive $3,000 a month apartment. It's about 5 in the morning. Boom, boom, boom. Somebody's beating on my door. And, I don't have people that come over my house randomly at night. But it is an apartment, so I didn't get freaked out. I figured maybe they knocked on the wrong door. I just didn't pay any attention, and the door is very secure. So, I But then a couple minutes later, I heard arguing. I heard my security guard's voice, or the security guard of the building, and kind of like a fight. So the next day, the neighbors, or the people in the row of apartments next to mine, said that this guy was knocking on everyone's door. Now, I didn't look through my people, because again, nobody comes over my house, and if they did, I ain't letting them in, but nobody would come and do that. So I didn't bother to look through the people, but some of them did. And there was a guy, homeless guy, looked crazy, had a backpack on. They looked through the people. He backed up like 10 feet from the door and kind of balled up like Sonic the Hedgehog and put his weight, like if they opened a door, he was going to rush and knock them in. What was his intentions? I mean, if you're just trying to break in somewhere, obviously if somebody opens the door, you're going to run. So what was he planning on doing? So it's good that the young USC student, probably because the story made the news and there was a lot of pushback against the DA. This guy was he gets the benefit of the doubt. He's a college student, 19, overcame coming from a bad neighborhood himself, with some parents with problems. He had a rough upbringing as well, but he wasn't mentally ill. And you can't expect society to deal with your family members' problems very well. Sometimes they do, but the only reason people are going to have mercy on your mentally ill, your dope fiend daughter, your crazy brother is probably going to be you and your family. But so many of us don't live in much of a family structure anymore. And that's why you see so much of this. So you want to end the homeless problem or the mental health care problem, you need to find a mentally ill or homeless person your friends are related to, and you need to help them, because it costs $60,000 a year plus to put somebody in prison. So if you just go putting the homeless in jail, it's going to cost a lot of money, whereas now you just keep them controlled in certain neighborhoods, which is what they should do. Interesting story out of Los Angeles. Another lost angel lost his life. Xavier Cerf, STABBED, to death by a USC student who had a $2 million bond. Now the charges are totally dropped. he can get back to regular life. But I think he dodged a bullet because, as I know the law, if you hear your property being messed with outside, down the block, the idea that you take weapons and go check, kind of dicey, kind of risky. The guy, they claimed he patted his waist and said he had a gun. No gun was found. Is that even true? Police might have told him to say that so they could tidy this and wrap it all up and get it out the newspaper. Al Prophet, America Don't.